The hour of 6:30 having come and gone, I will call to order the Common Council meeting of Tuesday, February 24th, 2026, and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you. Alder Field. Alder Field is present. Alder Figueroa Cole.
Here.
Alder Figueroa Cole is present. Alder Glenn.
Here.
Glenn is present. Alder Govindarajan. Govindarajan is present. Alder Ugair.
Here.
Alder Ugair is present. Alder Harrington McKinney. Soon. Alder Lankella.
Here.
Alder Lankella is present. Alder Knox. Knox is present. Alder Madison.
Here.
Alder Madison is present. Alder Martinez Rutherford.
Present.
Alder Martinez Rutherford is present. Alder Matthews.
Here.
Matthews is present. Alder Mayor.
Here.
Mayor is present. Alder O'Brien. Alder O'Brien is present. Alder Ohovich. Alder Ohovich is present. Alder Pritchett. Alder Pritchett is present. Sorry. Alder Tischler. Alder Tischler is present. Alder Revere.
Here.
Alder Revere is present. Alder Vitever. Alder Vitever is present. Alder Duncan.
Here.
Alder Duncan is present. Alder Evers. Alder Evers is present. Madam Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. As usual, I remind us that we're here to do the business of the people of Madison and ask that we do that with grace and kindness, and in particular, refrain from using any profanity in anyone's remarks. And that will take us to disclosures and recusals. Are there any disclosures and or recusals on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, then we will move on to the presentation of the consent agenda. President Vitever.
A consent agenda is moved with the recommended action listed for each item on the agenda, except items that have registrants wishing to speak, items that alders have separated out for discussion or debate purposes. This document lists supermajority items, agenda items with recommendations different from the agenda, items for exclusion, items introduced from the floor, and agenda items with corrections. The following agenda items are supermajority. Item 23, Legislative File 91614, designating City of Madison polling locations for the 2026 spring election, 14 votes required to adopt under suspension of MGO 2.055. Item 26, Legislative File 91920, reapproving a certified survey map of property owned by Bozeman Land Holdings LLC located at 4205 Portage Road, 14 votes required to adopt under suspension of MGO 2.055. Item 28, Legislative File 91576, authorizing the city engineer to apply for a DNR municipal flood control grant for the West Town Pond project, the mayor and city clerk to sign the resulting grant agreement to accept the grant if awarded, and amending the 2026 capital budget for engineering stormwater utility to allow for the acceptance of up to $600,000 if awarded the grant. 15 votes required. Item 38, Legislative File 91833, amending the Parks Division 2026 adopted capital budget using golf revenue reserves for the purchase of specialized turf management equipment for the City of Madison golf courses. 15 votes required. Following agenda item has a recommendation different from the agenda. Item 65, Legislative File 92030, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement with Madison Gas and Electric relating to electricity rates for electric bus charging. This is being withdrawn from introduction at the request of Metro Transit. Following agenda item is excluded. Item 41, Legislative File 89185, Chief of Police, fourth quarter report. I requested it so that we could have our presentation. We actually have two items introduced from the floor. The first is Legislative File 92053, amending the city's 2026 adopted budget to appropriate $70,000 from the general fund contingent reserve to fund the water utility, stormwater utility, and sewer utility portions of MadCap for the remainder of 2026. That will go to Finance on 3.2 and Common Council on 3.10. And the other agenda item that is being introduced from the floor is Legislative File 91958, Appeal of Madison Landmarks Commission denying a certificate of appropriateness for 1123 Jennifer Street, exterior alteration in the Third Lake Ridge Historic District for roof replacement. And that will go to a Common Council public hearing on 310.
Thank you, President Vitever. Are there any other items that alders would like to have excluded from the consent agenda at this time? Seeing none, Then just to make sure that everybody's on the same page, items 23 and 26 are 14 vote items. Items 28 and 38 are 15 vote items. Item 65 will not be introduced tonight. Item 41 will be excluded for the presentation. And we have 2 items that are being introduced from the floor, Legistar Files 92053, which will go to Finance on 3.2 and Council on 3.10, and Legistar 91958, which will go back to the Council on 3.10. Everybody good? All right, President Vitiver, then a motion, please, on the consent agenda.
Move to adopt.
Moved and seconded to adopt the consent agenda. Is there any objection to recording a unanimous vote in favor of the consent agenda at this time? Seeing no objection, a consent agenda is adopted. And we will go on then to item 41, which is Legislative File 89185, the Chief of Police Fourth Quarter Report. Chief Patterson.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Do you have it?
I do not.
Oh, you don't have it. My apologies. I thought it was sent to you already.
We'll stand informal while we find the chief's presentation.
I can email it to you now. It's helpful. Yep. Let me. Yes. My apologies. Started with a collar issue as well that Alder Martinez Rutherford helped me, so it's not off to a good start on the fourth quarter, sorry.
Is it attached to the file?
I think it was sent last week.
Okay, I've got Q4 and one that says CC. This one.
Yay.
There you go.
Okay, my apologies again for that. So this is our fourth quarter report from 2025. Some of you may, if you participated in the discussion a few weeks ago, some of you may recognize some of these numbers. They're unchanged, fortunately, but I think it's great to be able to present them again because we've really made some, I think, some very positive gains as a city. And I think it's really highlighted the partnerships that have been strengthened over the last year with public health and the violence prevention unit, our community partners, and as as you may have seen, if you, again, participate in that discussion, there's a lot of great things, I think, happening throughout the city. So start with the next slide. With shots fired, so through the fourth quarter, when we compare to the 3-year average, and as a reminder, we're looking at a 3-year average now instead of comparing, one fourth quarter to the previous year's fourth quarter. It just didn't seem like that was the best way to follow trends. But when we look at the year-to-date, so there was 117 instances of shots fired compared to the 3-year average of 154 is a 24% decrease.
We're missing the shots fired.
There you go. Sorry. Now we'll move on to the opiate overdose. Opiate and overdoses are at a 16.5% decrease compared to the 3-year average at the end of last year. Just keep clicking through. Robberies also at a double-digit decrease. Citywide, we're at a 14.5% increase at the end compared to our 3-year average of 124 per year. Burglaries, now that again, that includes both non-residential and residential burglaries. That's at a 42% decrease compared to the 3-year average. Stolen autos. At the end of last year, we saw almost a 50% decrease in stolen autos compared to our 3-year average, which is fantastic. Now, if you are covering the north and east sides, you probably saw a recent slight uptick that we're experiencing here in 2026. And so that's why we got that education information out as quickly as we saw it. And we'll try to stay on top of that the best we can with a lot of our proactive efforts and through adjusting some of our tactics, mainly in the east and north districts. But a positive number there to end the year. And then theft from autos are at almost a 19% decrease compared to that 3-year average. As well. So really seeing, you can pop to the last slide, really seeing some, I think, some amazing strides last year and building on from the previous year. And again, I have to give a lot of credit to our police officers who have really been working hard and have embraced being more data-driven with both their proactive efforts, but also their community engagement, community outreach efforts in some of our areas that really require additional attention. But it's also highlighting, I think, an engaged community and really the great collaborations that exist now citywide with some of our strong partners in the prevention side of things. So just a few reminders of what else is in that report. And I thought I'd keep it concise since we talked about this a few weeks ago, but please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Questions for the Chief, Alder Revere.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief, as always. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
For the report. First, I just wanted to also thank you publicly again for the additional NRO in the Central District. I just came from a neighborhood association meeting where Matt Johnson came and introduced himself. So he's already made a difference in the few short weeks since he's been with us, February 1st, and we really look forward to more great results. So thanks for that. I know you created 2 NROs.
It's great. No, the other is North and East, Liz Erickson, and those two will be collaborating throughout the year and really trying to, better serve that entire population, especially as some of the folks we see, navigate the Northeast districts and come downtown during the day. We'll do our best to try to keep them connected to services and serve them the best we can.
So I really appreciate that. So on to my question. You might have seen on tonight's council agenda, we approved under the consent motion a $100,000 forgivable loan to Tellurian for Jake's Place at West Main and Proudfoot Streets from the Community Development Division. And as you probably are well aware, more so the details than we are, but that they were hoping that on the second floor of that facility that used to be Journey Mental Health, that they hope to have a detox facility of some sort there. But when I asked the question of their CFO in the Finance Committee meeting last week, it was still very much up in the air, it seemed like. So it's kind of a 2-part question for you. One, I don't know if you've been privy to any conversations about Tellurian's new facility downtown, and if you can share anything about that, if so. But what I know you could share with us is something that we I think, thought about asking you when you were with us across the street a few weeks ago for the violence prevention updates, and that is what the experience of your officers have been since New Year's, since the county-owned detox facility closed.
No, I appreciate that. Alder, thank you for the question. I haven't been as privy to some of the more contemporary updates on Jake's Place. I was getting a lot more, I guess, towards the latter part of last year when, there was still some hope that at the county level, funding would be sustained for the service to incapacitated persons throughout the county. But, since then, I know that Tellurian has been trying to make some advances and still hopefully return that service to Madison and Dane County. But I haven't gotten any, like I said, any real-time updates. I know there's, some suggestions that maybe, I think it's Shorewood Behavioral Health may also come into the discussion when it comes to serving incapacitated persons, which, frankly, anything that would divert folks who are incapacitated away from the hospitals and the emergency rooms, I think is a win, frankly. We've been talking a lot at the Dane County Chiefs level about, when another jurisdiction, frankly, brings in someone who might be incapacitated and, gets them admitted to one of our area hospitals, and then that person elopes or they, create another issue or something like that at the hospital, how that can first be served by MPD, but then maybe, returned to the original jurisdiction. Certainly UW-PD is also very interested in that with UW Hospital being their purview. So, we are seeing officers obviously using the emergency rooms, more because that's our only option for these folks. But it's still early in the year, and Assistant Chief Ty has been tasked with tracking all of the time, so we can actually do a comparative analysis at some point here in 26 compared to last year, so we can use some data to perhaps make an argument if we need to for improved services. So
I appreciate that very much. So your information is probably anecdotal at this point.
it's a little anecdotal. Yeah, it
And
was
as you
pretty
say, it's
long-winded
only,
to get to that
it's only,
point.
we're late February, but it hasn't been, would you say it's been clearly noticeable on a regular basis that you have patrol officers tied up in emergency departments now, where they would be out on the street much quicker if they're still at the county-owned facility open, or has it not been
It's
as
hard
acute?
It's hard to answer that because, as you know, back in August, Tellurian reduced their bed
Yes.
capacity down to 3.
Yes.
And so it's almost like getting conditioned to elevating gas prices. You you get used to a higher gas price, and then it feels great when it lowers just a slightly bit. But it's hard for us to tell if there's a measurable difference, since August, and so that's what we're trying to
I see what
track.
you're saying, yeah. So your patrol officers had really experienced it in the latter half of last year because detox was full.
They were
very
full
often.
very frequently. Yes.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate
Yeah, but
that.
it's definitely a hot topic, especially when I'm talking to Chief Plish at UW, and
Yeah.
we've seen unfortunately some numbers pre-pandemic, around over consumption and incapacitation on campus as well, and so it's something that we're both thinking about and talking about frequently.
Yeah, we do have something called the Mifflin Street Block Party coming up
Yes.
sooner rather than later, which was also
Once,
on our, the glass ban was on our agenda tonight as
Yeah,
well, on
which
the consent
is a great
agenda.
point because historically, as you know, we've
Detox
really
was full.
needed detox
That
to
last-
be available for that particular event.
Yeah, that last Saturday in April for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Would it be appropriate, Chief, for Chief Ty to maybe include a section in your next quarterly report on his
We
findings?
can absolutely try to do
That would be great.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Pritchett, questions?
Yes, of the overdoses for the fourth quarter, how many of them were ended in death? And how many of them were recoverable?
I think I have that in the report, Alder. I can't remember that off the top of my head, but let me take a look here and make sure I don't misspeak. We had 4 in the fourth quarter, 4 deaths.
Deaths.
That's right. Yep.
Any idea, do you have the age range?
19 total for the year. I could get you those. I don't have the victim age range, but I can certainly get that for you. It is a decrease, but still, it's 19 souls, obviously, that is too many.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. President Vitiver.
I'll keep you on that topic for just a sec. So do you have a sense of why the overdoses are declining? And the second piece of that is, I think the drug is Kratom. There's a new thing. What's it called? There's some other drug that stuff is getting into the supply that's very bad. And I don't think that it is an opioid.
Well, that's a good question. I haven't heard of the new stuff. I mean, it's been largely centered around fentanyl and opiate-related drugs, our discussions. And certainly fentanyl is still very prevalent in the community. I don't want to misspeak and offer suggestions that are not accurate, but I do think the prevalence of Narcan in the community has been tremendously helpful and has really helped us lower the number of overdose total, not just deaths, but total overdose. But I talked to a practitioner last November, I think, talking about the decrease and what they perceived, and they unfortunately attributed also to increasing tolerance levels because of the adjusting of us as human beings when there's high levels of use and just that actually working to our benefit. So when you hear about new things coming in, that's scary because obviously that challenges, both the prevalence of Narcan, whether or not that'll work if it's not an opiate derivative, and then certainly the change in, individuals' tolerance levels for these things. So.
The other question I had was, so in the shots fired report, I noticed that the self-inflicted were included in the overall. And I'm just wondering if it would make sense to separate them out, only because, I think the public they're more concerned about like what's happening on the street. I mean, obviously, as you said, these souls lost is a tragic piece, but I'm wondering if, those should be separated out in the report so that we can sort of better show what's happening in homes versus.
Again, I'm happy to present any way that you would like in this report, and I'm certainly able to parse it out. The one thing I would suggest is that we keep it as an important discussion point because, as the mayor will attest in her biweekly violence prevention meetings, I mean, that's something we've been talking about regularly. And if you remember, I mean, we've had, some unintended individuals hit by accidental gunfire, by people that are mishandling their weapons. We've had multiple individuals shoot themselves in the leg or the foot or what have you because they are frankly not trained and they don't know how to handle their firearm appropriately. So that's something that we're going to continue to look at, with the mayor, with the VPU, and hopefully find some, ways to address it because it seems to be a persistent theme, unfortunately, in all our meetings.
And then my other question might actually be for Attorney Haas because it's about, I believe we sued Kia and Hyundai over the easy-to-steal cars.
Still going.
Okay. So whoever wants to answer that one, because I'm just wondering, are the thefts down simply because some of those cars are off the street, or is it that there's actually fewer people trying to steal cars, or people are being better about actually not leaving their keys in their ignition with their car running? Like, do we know the why?
Might lateral that to you since I'm still meeting with legal staff on this issue. So.
I don't know what the cause of the change is. Just to give you a brief status on the litigation, there's a trial scheduled for the Madison portion of it in April, a 2-week trial out in California. So.
No, but the failure of anti-theft device was a theme in this last quarter. You're correct, but with other auto manufacturers as well, and so we're trying to stay on top of that as best we can.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Figueroa Cole.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, John. I have a couple of questions. I think I asked this before, and I'm still confused about these numbers. So for the sex trafficking category, the human trafficking category, I'm sorry, that's always 0. Are those cases being classified as something else in this report? because we know that they exist here in Madison. We know that there's nonprofit organizations that are constantly working on this issue, but the number is always zero. So can you explain that again, please?
Well, I think what I could offer, and I didn't bring someone with me this time, but, I thought about including our Special Victims Unit lieutenant to come and talk about the types of cases they're investigating, both with involving children, but also adults, because I know that this topic is of particular interest to you and others. This is offense data, and so it doesn't mean necessarily that they haven't disrupted that type of incident, but it wasn't a charged offense. It could certainly be other offenses that we're looking at, and I guess I'd love to bring her along with me, Lieutenant Harris, to the next meeting, and we can hopefully add some better context to that for you.
Thank you. And for the driving under the influence, does that includes all the different categories that you guys have? Repeats. You have like multiple groups of DUIs. Are they all combined into this category?
That includes, I believe, all. So, second, third offense, those are all lumped under the same offense totals.
And two more questions. This kidnapping, abduction category, honestly, I don't recall seeing, are these numbers like the norm for the kidnapping, abductions?
I believe so, but again, I think that's an area that it would be helpful to have a person's crime person with me, and they could help add some additional context. But that is something that we are required to track, and there are different offenses. I cannot recall standing here tonight exactly which ones fit into that offense category.
And then finally, for the disorderly conduct information, it would be nice to see those break up by area.
By
Like,
geography, you mean?
By geography, yeah. Where are you seeing the highest numbers on that category in the future?
We can do that. And I think, just if I could offer too, that particular offense typically has an enhancer added to it. So, for example, domestic is a enhancer, and we could break it out by enhancer as well, just to maybe add a little more context, I guess, to the discussion.
Yeah, I think you and I have been conversations about the specific statute for the description for that particular offense, and how it heavily weights on the individual trainee or the individual police officer. So I really would like to start taking a deeper look about which areas we're seeing the most of those cases, and see if we can tie that back to some training and just really work into that particular issue.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Glenn?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Chief. Just a couple questions. One, if you could talk a little bit about, because I really feel like this was pivotal for the work of VPU when I was there, was those monthly accountability meetings that we were started to be invited to, and talk about that in that transparency lens that really allows VPU to understand the perspective. And then the second one is, we have really appreciated Lester Moore, but I don't know if the general public really understands or knows that kind of position that he has. If you could talk a little bit about that, that kind of, even as I would see it, like a hybrid kind of neighborhood officer, but without the punitive or citation piece of the work that he does?
No, absolutely. And so if you all remember back, I think it was August or September when I had Assistant Chief Ty with me, he gave a presentation on our stratified policing model, and that involves a meeting structure. And like Alder Glenn mentioned, we have a monthly accountability meeting. Essentially what that is the three assistant chiefs, myself, we have all the managers meet with us, and they each present on their districts, and they cover crime trends, they cover their priority areas, their priority locations, and then all of the efforts that have taken place over that last month. And it's meant to be very interactive, and we ask questions of one another, offer suggestions to one another, but importantly, we also, share what's occurring from district to district, and so you can find the common threads pretty easily, especially if there are specific individuals that are traveling between certain areas of the city. Last, I think January, we started inviting in all of VPU, and they've been attending every month with us. They were just at the last one last week. It's really, I think, enhanced the meeting quality overall because we hear about their prevention efforts, what they're doing in, frankly, a lot of the very same areas that we're working in. And the discussions allow us to try to figure out how to best support one another and also maximize our efforts. And so we're trying to use data, that's available to us to be smarter with our resources. And I think it's been helping the Violence Prevention Unit as well, and it's certainly improved our working relationships and collaborations. And so I don't want that to end. They'll keep hopefully coming, and we've talked about inviting in other agencies as we find certain issues specifically around like priority locations. If maybe there's a persistence of building inspection problems, that's my hope, is to start inviting in other agencies from around the city to hopefully, team city approach on violence prevention and crime reduction. So I appreciate you raising that, Alder. As far as Lester Moore, he is one of our core officers, so community outreach resource education officers. And if you remember, that was the most recent COPS hiring grant that was awarded to the police department. It's been almost 4 years ago now, and he's assigned to the north side, and is not necessarily meant to be assigned to a specific geography, but certainly we will allow some discretion to both the district captain and the outreach captain. And he's really meant to try to better connect with youth in certain areas, certainly in our priority areas and priority locations, and really try to work collaboratively with community partners to engage with the community, but also work to prevent incidents from occurring. And so Lester's been around for a long time, and he's developed a lot of relationships, and I'm not surprised you appreciate him out there, Alder, so thank you.
Yeah, we'd like to keep him for a long time.
Well, you just started, so I think if he stays his full 4 years and then asks for another one, you've got him for a while, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Evers?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Chief. Looking at the section of the report on traffic safety, I see that you break down the traffic stops by quarter, but I wonder if in the next report you could also break down the number of citations by quarter. I don't see that. Maybe it's somewhere else.
It's right on the very next page, Alder, page 13.
Yeah, but it breaks it. Unless I'm misreading this, I see the citations for fourth quarter, but I don't see how it compares to quarters 1, 2, and
Oh, I see, which I misunderstood. Yes, we can absolutely do that. Yep.
And yeah, that'd be helpful. I think it's worth tracking, and also perhaps a comparison against the 3-year average.
I can do that, absolutely.
And I want to thank you for listing the speeders hotline. I've been an alder for almost 7 years, and it was only in the last year that I learned that we had one of these. And I'm wondering if MPD, through your social media or through your Coffee with a Cop or whatever ways of reaching out to the public, you could help spread the word on that. Because I think that's helpful. I think a lot of our residents feel powerless in the face of what they perceive to be, speeding in the neighborhoods, people going through red lights, stop signs, and things like that. I've taken now to letting people know in neighborhood meetings, and every time I get a complaint from a resident about speeding on a particular street, I respond to them and remind them about the speeders hotline. And I would just want to encourage all my colleagues to do the same, because that is something that is empowering for people to feel like there's something they can do in response. And as you know, it's not even necessary that these individuals have a license plate, correct? That if they can just call it in, they don't even need to know the make and model, but just the time of day and the street. Is that correct? Could
No,
you
that's
speak to
right.
that a little bit?
Certainly if we are provided with vehicle information like the license plate that we can follow up on, we do so. And, a vehicle owner can get a letter from the police department sharing that they were seen and that there were complaints about their driving. But most importantly, I would suggest, and having worked in a district for many years, the complaints that we do receive, we use to direct our proactive efforts. And so it's incredibly important, incredibly useful for us. And it's used by both district staff, with when they have available resources, and then certainly by traffic enforcement staff as well. So thank you for suggesting that. It's a very useful tool for us.
Yeah, let's spread the word about that. I think that's a really
Absolutely.
good tool.
Will do.
And lastly, you made reference to the COPS grant, and you and I have spoken about the possibility of perhaps a COPS grant being made available in the future that could be perhaps explored to get another test team for the city. And could you speak to that, let my colleagues and the listening public know about what your sense of what that could be like, and if that's a feasibility, a possibility, perhaps for the 2027 budget?
No, thank you, Alder. The COPS hiring grant is typically offered annually, and as we've all experienced, the previous trends are a little different now, and so I think what I'm hearing is the announcement may come out sooner rather than later this year, as soon as perhaps next month, March. Which would be helpful to know in advance of the operating budget discussion, obviously. But in the past, traffic enforcement has been a nice fit for one of the categories that you have to fit an application through. So, without seeing actual instructions, it's hard for me to say definitively, but we're hearing that it's coming earlier this year, which is good, and that the match requirements might be more attractive, which is also very good.
Yes.
And even the possibility that non-commissioned positions could be considered. So that's all, just discussion that we're hearing from colleagues at the federal level. So hopefully that is what happens, but until it's on paper, it's
thank
just
you
what we're
very
hearing.
much.
So you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Govindaraj.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief, for your report. I have a question unrelated to any of it. Actually, it's not a question, it's a statement. The video that your department put out about 2 weeks ago about the unmarked law enforcement vehicles, I loved it, and I think a lot of people in my community did as well. I think the more educational things you guys can do, such as that, I think would be much more appreciated, and you should keep that up.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you.
We are moving forward with some window clings instead of the packing tape has not held up very well on the windshields, so we're going to try to improve that. But thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Okovitz.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Chief. I will be honest, I was waiting so long, I forgot what my question was.
It was a good one.
It was probably a really good one. I'll get back to you. Thank you.
You're it, Alder. Sorry.
You can email me later. I'm happy to. Yeah, absolutely.
I have no other alders in the queue with questions. So thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And of course, you all can contact the chief directly if you have follow-up questions or things that you want to see in addition to what's in the report. I'll remind you that the contents of the report are dictated by an ordinance. The chief provides more information than what is required by the ordinance. So if you wanted to see more or different information, you could amend the ordinance or just simply ask the chief. And that, my friends, is it, unless there are additional introductions from the floor or any announcements. Seeing none of either, then Alder Field, it's your turn.
Move to adjourn.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. Is there any objection to recording unanimous vote in favor of adjournment? Seeing no objection, we stand adjourned.